Hey Ooga crew, today we're talking about this pipe. Ooga! That was good, so don't pretend like it's not. First, let's talk about a couple of the problems that you guys typically have on converted chassis and pipe fitment. Some issues with contact between the radiators. You can have some issues with the rear mounts, the radiator on the other side, or with clearance of the front tire when the front end's compressed. So with that in mind, when we designed this pipe, we wanted to make sure that we gave ample room in those areas. For the guys with the bikes that have the rads that sit a little bit lower. So for example, we have a little over an inch here. I would say probably about 1.25 inches, maybe a little bit better in that area. And that is more than the leading aftermarket when we compare them back to back. Same thing on the other side. There is also quite a bit of room there, so you should not have to clip the radiator tanks. On the front, we've actually tucked the pipe in towards the frame a little bit more than the leading aftermarket, and that is, again, that alleviates the issues that you see with the front suspension compression. So far it looks like that's worked well. For the back mount, for the guys that ever having issues with the mount hitting the frame spar on the aluminum frame, we're going to offer to leave this mount off. If you guys are doing conversions, it should be no problem to weld that in place. We'll supply that, of course. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility. A good rule of thumb is if you have something like a fatty or PC and your mount lines up with that, it'll line up with ours because ours is set up for stock, same as theirs. If it doesn't, you're probably gonna have the same issue with ours. So when you order the pipe, just make sure you let us know so we can accommodate that for you. Cracks on the mounts. So what you'll typically see is you'll see a crack right along the weld bead, where the weld bead from the mount meets the pipe. What causes that is usually they are MIG welded on. So that creates a really hard edge and a point where it flexes really abruptly where the mount meets the pipe. So what we do to combat that is we braze them on with bronze. What this creates is a soft mounting point. It allows a little bit more flex in the joint. Things are going to move even though they seem rigid when they're on the bike. And we combine that with a nice heavy mount. Both mounts are 12 gauge, you can see here. So they're nice and heavy, so the mount itself won't crack. The back one's brazed on as well. And the other thing that we do is we make our 500 pipes out of heavier steel. So that creates a nice sturdy connection there where you're not going to get flimsy regular style sheet metal that you would find on like a 125 on a big pipe like this that's more prone to vibration and flexing. There's a few things that we've done to help the durability of the pipe. First off, we've made the pipe 25% thicker than a standard motocross pipe. 500 pipes are very long, you can see extra length here, as well as they vibrate more, so you get a lot more stress points in cracking on a weld seam. You've probably seen this on stamp pipes. So we do make them thicker. We also, because we weld every joint with oxyacetylene, it anneals the metal. What annealing means is that it actually makes it a little bit more flexible. This doesn't mean softer in the fact that it's going to dent. It actually does the opposite. It makes it tougher, but a little bit more malleable so you don't get the cracking. To further that, we also pound, if you look here, all the joints, and if there was any stress points from the weld bead cooling, that eliminates those, so you're not going to get cracking along the welds themselves. Like you see, if you look at a stab pipe, you might see cracking where the sections join together. That's another common problem for cracking. So with us pounding them, unlike them, we've eliminated that completely. We haven't had any problems, especially in high stress applications like snow biking or deserts. If you have a 500, you love horsepower. We all do. 500 guys, honestly, you're nuts, and I love it. So with that in mind, we wanted to give you guys peak horsepower. Now, that doesn't mean that we wanted to sacrifice down low. We know you love torque, we love torque too. So we really tried to focus on keeping the front side of the curve, good and equal to anything else that's out there on the market. But we wanted to add peak power and over-rev. Luckily, we were able to do that. We did a lot of R&D on it. We were able to add almost 3.5 horsepower at peak while maintaining the front side of the curve.